on to Abhinav Kadambi. Abhinav Kadambi Garu has been associated with Indic Academy for a long time. He has been presenting papers in various events of Indic Academy. He is going to present a paper on Ācāryalakṣaṇa Shiromani of Vedāntadeśika. Ācāryalakṣaṇa from Vedāntadeśika's Nyāsaviṃśati and the way forward is the paper by Abhinav Kadambi. I'll briefly introduce Abhinav Kadambi before he presents the paper. Abhinav Kadambi is a 7th generation paternal descendant of Yogi Shri Madhibande Ramadhyani Kadambi Srinivasa Tatachar Swami of Tumkur, and is the Dauhita of Mahamahopadhyaya, Patrakara Shiromani, freedom fighter, linguist, Sahitya Academy award-winning author and translator Sri Dr. Tirumala Ramachandra Swami. After a BTech in bioengineering and an MTech in medical nanotechnology, he has had international experience in STEM research, biomedical device design and fabrication, animal cognition and behavior, and cognitive neurosciences, and science journalism. He has completed an MA Sanskrit from the University of Madras, Chennai. He has studied the basics of Sanskritam as a student of Sri Dr. O.R. Devanathan Swami, Ulapakkam Devanathachar Swami, head of the department PG and research department of Sanskrit Presidency College, Autonomous, Chennai. He is a traditional Nyaya Shastra student of Nyaya Ratna Nyaya Shiromani Dr. Jammalamadaka Suryanarayana Shastriji. He is a student of practitioner of Yoga Shastra in the tradition of Yogaacharya Sri Tirumalai Krishnamacharya Swami. He currently is a PhD research scholar in Sanskrit under the guidance of Sri Dr. O.R. Devanathan Swami at the University of Madras, Chennai. Apart from teaching and research in Sanskritam, Yoga, and indigenous approaches to Indology, he also transcribes manuscripts, for example, Sri Hiranmaya Garbha Samhita in Pancharatragama, and translates from and to Sanskritam. He belongs to the Parakala Matha, Shishya of Sri Abhinava Vagisha Brahma Tantra Swatantra Parakala Mahadeshikan Swami, and is associated with Sri Parankusha Swami Matha at Sirpur near Yadgir, Karnataka. He works with teaching research responsibilities with multiple organizations including Kameshwari Foundation, Kala Sadhanalaya, Krishnamacharya Healing and Yoga Foundation, and Bharatiya Fitness Academy. He also volunteers for Vivekananda Kendra, Chennai. Abhinav Kadambiji, please go ahead.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. I'll share my screen now. Okay. Vishuddha Vijnana Dhanaswarupam Vijnana Vishranana Baddhadiksham Dayanidhim Deha Bhritam Sharanyam Devam Hayagrivam Prapadye. Sri Gurubhyo Namaha Sabhaye Namaha Sabhapatibhyashta. This extraordinary symposium where we speak about the significance of the Guru in the context of Indian traditions has been running since the morning. And obviously for those people who've been attending this since the morning, it's probably already what we call overwhelming. So when you keep eating sweets the whole time in Deepavali, you become extremely tired of the sweet, but still your relatives will come and give you sweets and you have to eat. and you still have to smile, even though you see that the sugar is totally overwhelming and the tongue no longer can take any more sugar. So that is the kind of situation I'm sure that all of you are in. Because since the morning, one of the most important things in Indian, or rather Bharatiya Jnana Parampara or Bharatiya Sanskriti that exists is the connection with the Guru. Guru Shishya Sambandha is so beautiful that it is more sweeter than any other sweet that is possible. And you've been consuming that since the morning, and so obviously you're overwhelmed. So the kind of responsibility I have, or rather the heavy weight that is right now on my shoulder, is to make sure that I convey even more sweet to you after you have consumed already so much of sweet. So before I go forward to tell you about the specific topic at hand, it is important to understand that the concept of the Guru, the concept of the Āchaarya, the concept of the upaadhyaaya, or some kind of any teacher for that matter, has already been discussed in very beautiful ways, extensively by the previous presenters. All these presenters have taken so much of pain and effort to actually come to a point where now you probably understand that the Guru or the Ācārya has some extraordinary significance in our lives, in our sadhana, in our anusthana, in our achara, in our vyavahara. So, when we talk about an Ācārya, it is not merely something to do with dharma and moksha alone. It's something to do with all the purusharthas, all four purusharthas. The Ācārya is the one who is showing the way, because the Ācārya is the one who has already attained that state where now they are getting closer and closer to harmony with the universe. Harmony so that they can get closer to the divine. And yadyad acharati shresthaha tatta devetaro janaha sayat pramanam kurute lokas tadanu vartate. That's what is Sri Krishna saying in the Bhagavad Gita. He says, whatever the Shrestha does, the rest of the world will follow. The same way, the Ācārya is the one who is going to practice certain things, and we are going to follow the same things. And when we talk about the subject at hand, right in front of you, I have the topic Ācāryalakṣaṇa from Vedāntadeśika's Nyāsaviṃśati, and the way forward, we should understand that Āchaarya, the word itself, can be described in terms of the etymology. The pada vyutpatti may be there, but that is not sufficient. When we talk about the Ācārya, we need to understand how one becomes an Ācārya, or how one remains an Ācārya. So there needs to be a Lakshana related to the Ācārya. And that is what we'll be seeing a little bit. And it has been described beautifully by Vedāntadeśika Ācārya in his Nyāsaviṃśati. Post telling you that Ācāryalakṣaṇa from the Nyāsaviṃśati, I would like to point towards the way forward as well. Of course, I'll be talking about the problems at hand and the possible approaches that we can take. Of course, it requires far more time to elaborate. We'll be talking about it as brief as possible within the time given to me. When we talk about the Ācārya we are currently focusing on, this is Vedāntadeśika Ācārya or Venkatanatha. We need to understand that this is something to do with the Sri Sampradaya. The Sri Sampradaya, which has been strengthened by Ramanujacharya ji around the time of 1017 CE to 1137 CE, approximately about 1000 years ago. Ramanuja Sahasrabdi also was celebrated in 2017. So we know that around 950, 960, 70 years ago, we see that Ramanujacharya has taken the principles that he has learned from different Acharyas, and he is now trying to consolidate everything. And he's bringing a synthesis as sorts of his time to re-establish and replenish and revitalize the Bhagavata tradition. The Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya or the Sri Sampradaya that we have today, mostly practiced in the southern part of Bharata, is something that has been revitalized because of the contributions of Ramanujacharya. And in that Shishya Parampara, we have the contemporary Kadambi Ācān, sometimes pronounced as Kadambi Ācān, and his son Kadambi Ramanuja Pillan, and his son Kadambi Appullar, and finally Kadambi Appullar's sister's son, that is Kadambi Appullar's nephew, Venkatanatha, who later was called Vedāntadeśika or Nigamāntadeśika or Nigamānta Mahadeshika. Different names do exist for him. Venkatanatha was a very special child. I mean, I don't mean special child from the perspective of modern day child psychology. What I'm trying to say is he was very special because he had special abilities in terms of his brilliance. He was extremely brilliant in the sense that he had extraordinary memory. He had extraordinary understanding. So eventually, when somebody called Nadadu Rammal, so he realized the importance of Venkatanatha and told Kadambi Appullar the importance of Venkatanatha and that he has to be the one who is going to shine brightly in the Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya, the Shishya Parampara. Immediately Kadambi Appullar acknowledges and he started teaching Venkatanatha everything that he knew. And because of this, Venkatanatha became Bahushastrajna. Bahushastrajna meaning he was not merely a great exponent in the Darshana Shastra alone. He was also an exponent in multiple other Vyavaharika Shastras. Vyavaharika Shastras meaning he was also very good at Ayurveda. He was very good in understanding temples, temple architecture. He was very good at understanding the prayoga of mantra. So mantra Shastra was very easy for him. And he even had the opportunity to be a contemporary. I mean, in fact, not that he had an opportunity. It so happened that he was a contemporary of our Vidyaranya Saraswati. So Vidyaranya Saraswati in his Purvashrama was a close friend of Vedāntadeśika, that is Venkatanatha. Of course, even after the sannyasa, he also remained closely in touch with Vedāntadeśika. So what happened was, Venkatanatha was such a Bahushastrajna that at some point of time, immediately, we realized that he started contributing to support the society around him. He started becoming extremely famous, but he did not want to lose track of his life. And so he remained in Uncha Vritti throughout his life. Uncha Vritti meaning he always took Bhiksha from the Grama Praja, and that is how he lived his life. It was a very simple life that he lived. He never wanted to go outside of Kanchipuram. He was born, he was mostly living within the confines of this region called Tupul, the Grama in Kanchipuram. He was such a serious pursuer of the Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya that almost every single grantha which came between Āchaarya and Venkatanatha were studied by Venkatanatha properly. This is very clear because Venkatanatha, later known as Vedāntadeśika, mentions all these granthas in his works. He mentions all of them by name. Even he mentions the exact line. Of course, not all granthas that he mentions are available to us right now. Right, starting from Yamunacharya's works up until Ramanujacharya's work and later people's works also are referenced by Vedāntadeśika. And Vedāntadeśika was also known as Kavitartika Simha. He was a Kavi on one side. He had understood Chanda Shastra very well. He had studied the Itihasa Purana and he had studied Kavya Shastra, Sahitya Shastra, Alankara Shastra. Everything was at his fingertips. And therefore, he was a Kavi. And he was also a Tarkika in the sense that he had studied Nyaya Shastra to that extent that he was able to be always in the thought of expressing his views as precisely and concisely as possible. Therefore, there will be no dosha in any of his statements. That was the level to which he had mastered Nyaya Shastra. And because of this, because of his what you call mastery over Kavya and Nyaya, he has written so many rachanas, more than 100 of them, but only few of them are available. Close to 100 of them are available. I believe about 20 or 30 of them are lost to posterity. But anyway, he has written many rachanas. Of his rachanas, many of his granthas are darshanika in nature. Some of them are vyakhyana works. Some of them are stotra pathas. Some of them are kavyas. And of course, a few of them on karmanusthana. So this is the background of Vedāntadeśika. So he was later known as Vedāntadeśika or Nigamanta Mahadeshika because of his mastery over Vedanta, mastery over the Darshana, generally in Darshana. Then later he was a master in Vedanta. He was a master in all shaastras, Bahu Shastras. Therefore, he was called Sarvatantra Swatantra. He knew every shastram and he was able to establish the correct nature of anything without any fault, without any dosha. And because he was well established in Veda and well established in Vedanta, he was called Nigamanta. Nigama, the word itself, is supposed to refer to the Veda. Nigama, Vedavachi is a reference there. Therefore, we understand that he had mastered the Veda, he had already mastered the Vedanta principles. And also we realize that he learned from his maternal uncle, Kadambi Apullar, a lot of very significant lessons which are covered in the subject of Brahma Vidyas. The Dvatrimshat Brahma Vidyas Sthanas were also well covered by Venkatanatha in his younger days. And that is precisely why we understand that he probably used these meditation techniques when he wanted to go forward. And that is why he received the Garuda Mantra. So if you study the biography of Ācāryā Vedāntadeśika, you see that he received the Garuda Mantra and he was capable of doing so many things which the common, local Darshanika, contemporary Darshanika may not even think of doing. That was the level of his tapas. And of his many works, one of the most important works is called Nyāsaviṃśati. It's a very simple work. It's Nyāsaviṃśati. Nyāsa here can refer to Sharanagati. It can refer to Moksha. It can refer to Prapatti. All of these are terms used to refer to the fourth Purushartha in the Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya. Vimshati referring to it having 20 Karikas. And so, in the Nyāsaviṃśati, the first Karika itself is talking about the Lakshanas of an Āchaarya. Siddham Sat Sampradaye Sthiradhiyamanagham Shrotriyam Brahmanishtham Sattvastham Satyavacham Samaya Niyataya Sadhu Vritya Sametam Dambhasuyadi Muktam Jita Vishaya Ganam Dirghabandhum Dayalum Skalitye Shasitaram Swaparahita Param Deshikam Bhushnuripset. This is the first Karika in the Nyāsaviṃśati. So there he is talking about all the gunas, all the lakshanas that are supposed to be associated with an Āchaarya. And in the previous presentations, you've already seen how the Āchaarya or the Guru has been described. About one presentation before mine, there was one presentation on the Guru in the Guru or Ācharya in the Tirupavai. So there you see something similar has been explained. Of course, it was not brought together like this and presented like one huge plate of laddus in front of us. But this is something like that. It is one plate with all the laddus together. Anyway, let us look at each of these words. Sat Sampradaye Siddham is the first term. Well established in Sampradaya. So if you are someone from the Sri Sampradaya or the Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya, you are usually told that this refers to the Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya itself. But I would like to slightly differ and make it clear that when we talk about an Ācharya, all of us are in complete agreement that they belong to some Sampradaya, some well-established long Sampradaya, which has a lineage. This is something that is very important. There needs to be a lineage. There are so many people who come up today and say, now I am an Ācharya, now I am a Guru. They just add this before their name or after their name to establish that they are now qualified to teach. They are now qualified to start their own tradition. It was never like this in the past. Perhaps it was, but it was not this much. So we need to understand that this person should be well established in tradition. Well established in tradition, we should remember, does not mean that we have to repeat everything in the same way as the tradition says. The tradition says certain things in a certain way. This is very important to know. What is important to know is, tradition has a way of explaining things. But not everybody understands everything after 500 years or after 1000 years, maybe after 2000 years. If the tradition continues to remain alive after that for such a long time, people may not be able to understand what they are saying, because the example would have been extremely current and contemporary for those people who lived very close to the time period of that specific Ācharya. But for us who live very far away from that Ācharya in terms of time, we may not be able to understand everything. So for that reason, the Ācharya will take it, will understand it, takes the essence, and then represent it in the form of a newer example. Example will change, but the principle remains the same. So it has to be made contemporary. Sat Sampradaya Siddham does not mean they continuously stay in the same way as they used to live in the past. Because you see, today, we do not have so many forests. We do not have so many mud houses. We do not have the madhas in the same functioning kind, in the same style. Therefore, we have to understand that to find an Ācāryya who has the same principles that are mentioned in the past may not be completely possible. In the previous presentation, Prabhavanaya, he actually spoke about this, but I'm only trying to explain that this also has to be considered. When you're talking about tradition, it does not mean that it is going to remain still. It's not going to be frozen in time. Tat Sampradaya Siddham does not mean they're always frozen in time. Some 500 years ago, 600 years ago. It should be made as current as possible. It's just my opinion. I'm not saying that I'm representing Sri Sampradaya completely. It's only my opinion. Anyway, second, Sthiradhiyam, with stable intelligence. Stable intelligence meaning their intelligence is not easily swayed. It's not easily confused. So they do not have any sandeha. They are well established in what they want to pursue, in the sense that they know what is right and what is wrong. They have the concept of viveka, and that sthiratva is also there. Viveka is also there, sthiratva is also there. Both of them are implied by the word sthiradhiyam, because the word dhi refers to intelligence, buddhi, but it also refers to the concept of discrimination, the ability to discriminate right from wrong. This is that intelligence, that viveka and buddhi, both together are mentioned here. And it is also mentioned as adhyavasaya, well established in one specific principle. This is what is implied by the word sthiradhiya. Then later it says anagham. Adha means papa in general. But if you look at the commentaries, I have actually checked two commentaries, one commentary in Hindi and one is in Tamil. I will show you the references towards the end in the bibliography. Anyway, Agha generally refers to papa, one who does not engage in adharmika vritti, adharmika vyavahara. That person is called anagha. But here, they are also saying in the commentary that you have to add the word dukkha and vyasana also as synonyms for the word agha. If you are someone who is always experiencing dukkha, you're someone who is always depressed, you are always suffering from things, then you cannot be an Ācāryya. This is what they are saying. Because for an Ācāryya, now you have not applied any principle that you have studied. You are not doing the Āchāra of whatever is supposed to be followed. Therefore, you are experiencing dukkha. And then the third one is vyasana. You have addictions. Addictions are caused because of kama and krodha. That much is very clear. Raga, dvesha, or kama and krodha. You have not yet gone beyond kama and krodha. And therefore, you cannot be an Ācāryya. But if you have gone beyond kama and krodha, or at least you are trying to go beyond kama and krodha, then you become anagha. So you are having the Ācāryalakṣaṇa. The next one, it says stotriyam, shrotriyam. Shrotriyam. So if you immediately remember the Mundakopanishad, Shrotriyam Brahmanishtham Gurumeva Bhigachet Samipanihi. That statement is there, that mantra is there in the Upanishad. But here they are saying, for clarity, it does not mean Shrotriyam means one who has studied the Shruti. Not only the Shruti, but also the Vedangas. Here, one who has studied the Shruti, that is the Veda, along with the Vedangas is very important. When we talk about Vedanga, we have all the subjects which are necessary for the proper practice of the mantras or the proper practice of the lessons provided in the Veda. Right? Shiksha, Vyakaranam, Niruktam, Chandas, Jyotisham, and Kalpa. All of these are mentioned as Vedanga, the Shadangas or the Shad Vedangas. All of these have to be properly studied by this person. And then the next statement is Brahmanishtham, Brahmanishtham, Brahmani Nishtham, well established in Brahman or Paramatma, whatever it is, whatever is the definition of Brahman that you are giving. So please remember, this does not have to be interpreted with the light of, in the light of Sri Sampradaya alone. If you are someone who is from a different Sampradaya, as an audience who are listening to this, if the Shrota is from a different Sampradaya, they can also apply this, take this and see how this is applicable to your Sampradaya as well. That is the level of specificity and the generality that is associated with this first Karika in the Nyāsaviṃśati. Brahmanishtham, one who is well established in Brahman. Sattvastham, he is full of sattva. A person who is full of the gunas associated with sattva is called sattvastha. So, a person who is full of sattva guna, where do I understand? How do I know what all this is? This you can understand as the presence of Daivi Sampat, as mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita by Sri Krishna himself. He talks about all the gunas associated with Daivi Sampat. He talks about Same Bhakta Priya Partho, or something like that. He mentions these in his shlokas. And then if you move forward, he says Satyavacham, one who's well established in Satya, speaks only Satya. Immediately people might be thinking, what is this truth? If it is going to be painful, why should I even speak it? If it's going to cause more harm than good, why should I speak it? So there's always a rule and an exception. Speaking the truth is the rule. Exception is when there is apadharma, when there are dangerous circumstances where speaking of untruth is going to save lives. So at that point of time, it's all right to speak asatya. But otherwise, you are always expected to be well established in satya. For that, there is also a statement which says, Satyam Bhuta Hitam Proktam. This is a very important statement that we should remember. This is from the Aniruddha Samhita. It is also part of a pada, it is also a pada of some other shloka in the Madhusudana Saraswati's Gudhartha Deepika Vyakhya to Srimad Bhagavad Gita. So in the 18th chapter, 42nd shloka there, Madhusudana Saraswati actually mentions this as if Vishnu has mentioned this. Vishnu from the Vishnu Smriti perhaps. I could not find the Vishnu Smriti yet, but perhaps it is there. In the Aniruddha Samhita, which is a Pancharatra Arama Grantha, there also there is a shloka which is Satyam Bhuta Hitam Proktam. Satyam, what is truth? Truth which is spoken for the sake of collective harmony. Bhuta Hitam can be translated in a very beautiful way as collective harmony, for the sake of the harmony of the collective, for everybody around us. Only then it can be considered Satyam. Otherwise, it is not Satyam. A very interesting definition here. And then it goes on to say, Samaya Niyataya Sametam. The word Samaya can be differently interpreted based on the context. In one context, Samaya refers to time. In another context, Samaya refers to the principles, the tattvas associated with the Sampradaya or the Āchāra. So, if you look at it from the perspective of time, timely habits, well established in discipline, that is what is important. If you look at Samaya as something to do with Sampradaya or Āchāra, then it refers to blemishless Jivanopaya. Blemishless meaning dosha rahita Jivanopaya. Jivanopaya meaning means of living. So if you do not have any dosha in the sense some kind of a blemish in the way you are living, the way you are leading your life, then it can be considered to be Samaya Niyataya Sametam. And there is another interesting statement which is mentioned in one of the commentaries. There it says, Dharmagnya Samaya Pramanam. There is a statement which is there in the Apastamba Dharma Sutra. The second sutra, it says, the second line itself says, Dharmagnya Samaya Pramanam. Whatever is being done, whatever is followed or practiced by the one who knows dharma, that itself is a pramana. That itself is a means of knowing what is the right way to do certain things. It's a valid means of knowledge. So, dharmagnya samaya pramanam. So that is a very important statement that we should remember. So, yadyadacharati shresthaha tattadeve tarojana. So, same thing. That same statement, which is there in the Bhagavad Gita, is also reflected in this specific sutra, in the Apastamba Dharma Sutra. As we move ahead, we also see sadhu vritya sametam. It is, in the previous one, it was samaya niyataya sametam. The next one, it says sadhu vritya sametam. So this is disciplined behavior. It's sadhu. The word sadhu here means good, literally good, or that which is commendable. But here, it actually refers to disciplined behavior. Perhaps they are following whatever their ancestors or good people are doing. So that is what is being mentioned here. Interestingly though, when you start reading the commentary to the Apastamba Dharma Sutra, Haradatta Mishra's Ujjvala commentary to Apastamba Dharma Sutra, there you see there's one interesting shloka. Apparently, he says that it has been extracted from Kumarila Bhatta's commentaries, I mean the work that he has done in Purva Mimamsa. He says, Sugato yadi dharmagyaha kapilo netika prama tavubhau yadi dharmagnyo Matadhedah kathantayoho. Very interesting to see what he's trying to say when he talks about dharma. So what is, if Sugata meaning Buddha, if Gautama Buddha is considered to be a knower of dharma, Kapilo neti ka prama. How do you know that Kapila of Sankhya is not dharmagnya? Taubhau yadi dharmagnyo matadhedah kathantayoho. If both of them are considered to be dharmagnya, then what is the difference between their basic established principles, whichever they have established in the form of their darshana? So what is the difference between Bauddha darshana and Sankhya darshana? If you say that both of them are correct, it's a very interesting statement. I am not somebody who would support this, because all of us are actually totally in agreement with one principle, that is Anekantavada, which of course the Jaina Darshana actually talks about this. Anekantavada, the truth is the same, but everybody sees it from different perspectives, right? This is the same thing that is being said. So here is a very interesting perspective. I just shared this to show the kind of idea Haradatta Mishra had, and he's quoting somebody else. That is, he's quoting Kumarila Bhatta to establish some kind of an idea that he has. I'm not saying that he's right, nor am I saying he's wrong. I'm just telling you that he shared this idea in his commentary. Anyway, Dambha Suyadi Muktam. He is without Dambha and Asuya. Dambha meaning haughtiness and Asuya meaning jealousy. And what is this Dambha? Again, if you look at the commentaries, the two commentaries that I mentioned, there in one of the commentaries it says, Dambha means, see, I am a good person. I am a very sattvika person. I am a very spiritual person. Please come and respect me. See, I'm going to do something spiritual. Come and respect me. Seeking this validation from outside. That is Dambha. And Asuya is to look at the guna of other people, the good qualities of other people as dosha, as bad qualities. Whatever good they are doing, you think that it is dosha. Whatever guna they have, you perceive it as dosha. That is jealousy. That is Asuya. A very interesting perspective to understand what is Dambha and Asuya. And then the word is Ityadayaha. So Adi is used. Dambha, Asuya, Adin. Adi is the word there. Adi is the word. So Adi meaning etc. So what are the other things? So in the commentary it says, please look at Gautama Dharma Sutra, where the Ashta Gunas of the Atma have been mentioned. So there the sutra goes, Daya Sarva Bhuteshu, Shantir Anasuya, Shaucha Manayaso, Mangalam Akarpanyam Aspriheti. These are the 8 gunas of the Atma. This is mentioned there. To Haradatta's Mitakshara Vritti, to Gautama Dharma Sutra, it actually mentions 8 shlokas to give the lakshanas of each of these qualities. Atmavat sarva bhuteshu, yadhitaya shivaya cha, vartate satatam krishtaha, kritsna hyesha daya smrita. Atmavat sarva bhuteshu, always looking at everything outside as equal to oneself and respecting it, doing only good things to it. That is the summary of it. That is called daya. Daya is that compassion, level of compassion. Akrishto bhihato vapi, nakroshen na chatadaye, adushto vangmanah kayaihi, satitiksha kshama smrita. What is kshama? Kshama is the second one, or kshanti as mentioned in the sutra. Kshama refers to that patience. What is that patience? Even when you are attacked by other people, you are not responding, or rather you are not retaliating with anger. So that is called patience. Well established in yourself. You are not losing control. Yo dharmam artham kamancha labhate mokshame vacha nadvishyattam sada prajnaha sanasuya smrita budhaihi. Whatever the other person is pursuing, any purushartha, dharma, artha, kama or moksha, you don't hate them for pursuing whatever they are pursuing. That is called asuya, or rather anasuya, not having that asuya. Asuya refers to the hatred towards other people who are pursuing dharma, artha, kama and or moksha in their own ways. So, without having that dvesha, you are called anasuya. Dravya shaucham manas shaucham vachikam kayikam tatha shaucham chaturvidham proktam rishibhis tattvadarshidhihi. So, shaucha, your cleanliness is supposed to be of 4 types. Dravya shaucham, all the objects around you which you are using, they have to be clean, including the place you are living in. Manas shaucham, the purity of the heart or the purity of the psyche. Vachikam, purity of speech. Kayikam, purity of the body. This is considered to be 4 different types of shaucha. Yadarambhe bhavet pida nityamatyantamatmanaha tadvarjayed dharmyamati saha anayasa prakirtitaha. Even though something is considered to be a nitya karma, probably something to do always, dharma, has to be pursued. Kuryat, whatever is mentioned as Kuryat in the Veda or in the Purva Mimamsa, you can find more ideas related to this. Whatever is supposed to be a Vihita karma, even though it is a Vihita karma, if you are going to pursue it with a lot of difficulty, it is going to give you a lot of pain in the future. This is what he is saying. Haradatta's Mitakshara Vritti is saying, if you are not going to pursue it, if you are going to drop it for the sake of recovering, for rest, that is called anayasa, or to pursue something without pushing yourself too much. Today, we see in a corporate culture how people are experiencing burnout. Gautama Dharma Sutra has already mentioned that you should pursue anayasa karma. Anayasa karma is what he's saying. This is not something to do with giving up all work. What I'm trying to say is understanding the balance between work and rest. That is what is supposed to be understood. He's mentioning this. Gautama Dharma Sutra is mentioning this. And then the sixth one. Prashasta charanam nityam aprashasta vivarjanam etadhimangalam proktam munibhistattvadarshidhihi. Pursuit of that which is supposed to be done and the stoppage of doing what is not supposed to be done. That is called mangalam, auspiciousness. That is called auspiciousness. Āpadyapicha kashtayam bhaveddino nakasyachit samvibhaga ruchischa syat tadakar tada syat tat akarpanyamuchyate. Even if you are experiencing a dangerous situation, apadi api, without going and depending on others, when you have multiple interests, pursuing it, this is called akarpanya. Vivarjayed asantosham vishayeshu sadanaraha paradravyabhilashancha sa aspriha kathyate budhaihi. Aspriha, losing the attachment to objects of sense perception. Losing attachment. It does not mean losing them, losing attachment to them. Not having raga and dvesha. Ityukta prakarena ashtau atmagunaha. These are mentioned in Haradatta's Mitakshara Vritti to Gautama Dharma Sutra. And if you would like to learn more about this, you will see that Shatavdhani Ganesh ji has actually written an article in Preksha, and you can see the link also given on the slide below. And then moving on, Jita Vishaya Ganam, victorious over the sense organs. Indriya Jaya is very much important. Even in Arthashastra, Ācārya Chanakya is also mentioning that the Raja must have the Indriya Jaya. Only after being somebody who has mastered the sense organs can a Raja function effectively. That is also mentioned in the Arthashastra. I'm not making it up. It's already there in the Arthashastra. And then it goes on to say Dirgha Bandhum. Dirgha Bandhu. Dirgha meaning long term. Bandhu meaning always supportive. Always looking out for the Shishya. Always looking out for the Shishya. The Shishya will make mistakes. Obviously, everyone will make mistakes. And whenever they make a mistake, they fall down. They don't know how to pick themselves up. And so, what does the Ācārya do? They go and say, no, don't worry so much. You can come out of it. Please don't lose hope. Please come up, and holds the hand of the Shishya and helps the Shishya get empowered to pursue whatever they're supposed to pursue. Dayalum, compassionate. So, showing Daya again. Skhalitye Shasitaram. Skhalitye, whenever there is a mistake. Shasitaram, they correct the mistake. Whenever there is a wrong behavior in the Shishya, the Guru is going to, the Ācārya is going to go and correct this behavior. And then, Swaparahita Param. Swa, for oneself. Para, others. Hita, always doing the right thing. Param, always engaged in only that kind of a behavior. Swaparahita Param, always being helpful. So here the commentary mentions a statement made by Vyasa in Mahabharata. Sarvastaratu Durgani, Sarvo Bhadrani Pashyatu. That's a statement that is being referred to in the commentary. He says, let everybody go beyond anything that is going to cause them dukkha. And may everybody experience what is close to them, what is supposed to be good for them. Bhadra, whatever is Bhadra for them. Let them experience that. Parantu, there is a question here. There is a problem that we are going to address. The way forward, of course. What now that you know the qualities of an Ācārya, after knowing the lakshanas of an Ācārya, what do you do with it? Perhaps you are going to inculcate it in your own life. Perhaps you would look for an Ācārya with these lakshanas. Because it's very difficult to find somebody with all the lakshanas. Maybe with your exploration, you might find somebody with a maximum number of these gunas, these lakshanas. And therefore, once you find somebody with all these matching qualities, it would be nice to learn from them. Of course, that is fine. You can learn from them. But what do you do with it in the current context? The reason I ask this is, for centuries, we have gone through colonization. So, for about 700, 800 years or more, in fact, we have been subject to colonization. There have been waves of colonization. We fought wars for them. We have been employed by them. We were what you call part of their senas. We became sepoys for them. So now what do? Because of this colonization, there is a very clear problem. There are three issues which come up because of this. The first one is the idea of stasis. We will stay in the shastra or the sampradaya which was given to us 500, 600 years ago, or maybe 700, 800 years ago, prior to colonization, pre-colonization era. And then the practicality is no longer there, because on the inside, in a temple or a matha or inside my room, I will follow certain principles, but I don't know how to connect it with the world, real world outside my room or the matha or the temple. I'm unable to understand if it is practical any longer. I will only look at it as something to do with spirituality, something to do with old age, something to do with giving up hope of doing anything, something that only retired people will engage in. So that is the impracticality associated with all this shastra, the perception of shastra. The second thing that we should understand is there is insufficient understanding of shastra itself. And then the third problem that all of us are facing, which was also highlighted by the previous speaker, Prabha and I also mentioned, that there is the rise of questionable gurus who do not have a direct lineage. They do not have a parampara, but they claim that they have a parampara. They might say that I am reincarnation of somebody. Probably they will not say. People associated with them will hear something and make out something and say, okay, so our guru is a reincarnation of somebody else. So let us make a documentary of it. Let us promote it. Let us promote it like wildfire. And that is how they will capture the imagination of the general audience, and they will get more and more money through that. That is always there. I'm not referring to anyone in particular. Okay, see, please don't accuse me of anything. I'm only telling you this is how it is in Kali Yuga. What about this impracticality? Impracticality is looking at shastra as something that is crystallized, and it is only valid inside a temple. So we will try to come up with an idea that we have already achieved everything. There is no need for us to learn anything new. There is no need for me to learn how to use the computer. There is no need for me to understand how to work with artificial intelligence. All of these different ideas come, they persist. This is the kind of perception you will have when you do not understand how to work with reality that is outside in the world. We should understand that shastra is a perennially updated, live, tested locally and temporally, valid knowledge system. So let me explain word by word. I'm not giving you the exact full definition. I'm just giving you certain words and phrases which will make sense. Shastra, generally, if you ask anybody, they will say that, oh, those books which are there in manuscripts, those which are in the libraries, oh, those which people like old people or old grandfathers and sannyasis will read. No, that is not what Shastra is. Shastra is perennially updated. It is always updated. That is how Shastra has always been. We have the Vada Parampara, where everything is intellectually discussed and everything is advanced through discussion. Any new discovery is always put to writing, always disseminated through the Ācharyas, through all of these sabhas and sadas. Always. It has always been so. But within the past few centuries, it has not happened. It was always perennially updated. Today, they are trying to revive it in some form through the IKS. Perhaps it will eventually succeed. Let us hope that it will succeed. It is perennially updated and it is live in the sense it will never die. It will always continue to be alive and it is tested. It is not something that you come up with just like that. It's not something like somebody just had an idea. Maybe they had some psychedelic substance and then immediately some idea popped up in their mind. That's not what they're saying. It is tested. They have done a rigorous testing process has been implemented, and whatever results came from it, they have been presented in the form of a sutra, perhaps, or a shloka, or a karika. Locally and temporally valid. Locally in the sense, in the place where we are living, it's going to be valid. So whatever is working for a desert kind of a climate will not work for a mountainous climate. So this is something that we should remember. Shastra does not mean it is always in the manuscripts. It's also something that is given down in the form of word of mouth. All that is also Shastram. Grantha is different, Shastra is different. Grantha is a book. Shastra is that knowledge system itself. It is tested locally. It is valid. It is tested and locally valid. It is valid in the place where it is supposed to be tested. And it is also temporally valid. In this time, around this time, it is valid. Unfortunately, within the past centuries, we have not done the validation quite effectively. Now we are reviving it. We are trying to understand it through understanding Ayurveda. We have something known as Ayur genomics, and all these different subjects are coming up. And hopefully, that will take a front seat, and we will be able to experience the benefits of that knowledge system. And we should understand that Shastra is not something that has to be crystallized in the past, but it has to be alive and kicking in the present and the future. So we need to find a way to bridge the gap between ancient heritage and new knowledge. And that is what an Ācārya should engage in. Not only Ācārya, but whoever is trying to bring in all these qualities of an Ācārya in themselves has to pursue. It's not something only somebody sitting in a scientific or research institution should pursue. Everybody should do it. If you want to understand Jyotisha, you must study astronomy properly. You must understand how to correct all these different faults, the doshas which exist in the calculations. Or if you want to improve the calculation, you have to engage in it. People are mostly interested only in getting a piece of paper as a certification, unfortunately. But let us see, let us hope for better future. The second thing is about the insufficient understanding. We think that all these different topics are separate and disconnected. In reality, they are not so. Just because somebody is reading a manuscript doesn't mean it is talking about some ancient temple or some ancient person alone. It is deeply linked with the history, archaeology, and epigraphy. It is deeply associated with Karma Kanda, Sampradaya, Āchaarya in some form. It is associated with Mandira, Tirthayatra, Kshetratana in some form. It is associated with native languages and scripts, and it is also associated with Pravachana and Parayana. Of course, this is only a small subset of all the principles that you can present. I'm not giving you the whole thing. It's not an exhaustive list. It's an inexhaustive list here. And we should understand that everything is deeply connected. There's a lot of intertextuality that you will find. Just now, the way I had presented to you, I only started speaking about Vedāntadeśika. And you see how it started from Sri Sampradaya and it went to Dharma Shastra. And from there, now I'm showing something related to colonization. So that is the nature of Shastra itself. You will keep finding intertextuality everywhere. And then the last one is the current situation where we have questionable gurus. So people assume that just because it is flashy, just because they have a very well-invested YouTube channel, or perhaps they have well-invested social media platform, social media accounts, it does not mean that they are actually true Ācharyas. It does not mean that they are established in Sampradaya of some kind. It just means that they had the access to resources to do so. We should be very clear that Ācharyas usually did not promote themselves. And if they are promoting themselves unnecessarily like this, we should know where to draw the line. And we should be very clear about the fact that Ācharyas in general never showed themselves out in public. But today the situation is such that there are so many people who claim to be Ācharyas that it's causing a lot of noise. And only people who are loud enough are seemingly heard, just like how they lobby for resources in the government. And that's a different story entirely. But we should remember that all of this has to be kept in mind. We should be very clear about who we are going to consider as a guru or an Ācārya. We have to observe their behavior long term before narrowing down on them and continuing to pursue our Āchāra, Vyavahara, Sampradaya in their guidance. Finally, we should remember that Samskriti is something that is associated deeply with Jnana, Āchāra, and Samuha. Jnana is that wisdom that you already have through the Sampradaya or perhaps through self-revealed scripture, the Shruti, whatever you have received. Maybe you are a mantra drashta, perhaps. You have received some kind of a clarity. And then Āchāra, the practice of things which are supposed to be done every day, regularly. Then Samuha referring to the collective. The Jnana and Āchāra, if you have Jnana, but you do not have Āchāra, it means that there is instability. You do not know how to practice. You have Āchāra, but you do not have Jnana. It means that you are not putting in effort to understand. In order to strengthen the connection between Jnana and Āchāra, you need to have Swadhyaya. Constantly reflect on your Jnana and Āchāra. See whether whatever you know is being practiced properly, and see whether whatever you are practicing is properly understood by you. So this is an eternal process throughout your life. And of course, Jnana and Āchāra, to be valid in a Samuha, there needs to be Pravachana. There needs to be a sharing of this wisdom with the society in general. Therefore, swadhyaya pravachanabhyan pramaditavyam, the statement that is coming from the Taittiriya Upanishad stands valid. And these two books are the primary books which I used for my research here. One book is in Tamil, the other book is in Hindi. The book in Tamil was by Ācāryalakṣaṇa. The book in Hindi was by Swamiji called Sri Neelameghaacharya ji in Kashi. So both books have a lot of information regarding this. Both books, I do not know if they are in print, but they are available online. You can read them on your own. So I have to convey my gratitude to Indic Academy and everybody else who made this possible for me. Thank you so much. This is the presiding Devata at Tiruvallikeni, Pathasarathi Perumal. This is how he is in the Garbhagraha. He is shown in this beautiful form. And thank you so much for this opportunity. Namaste.
Thank you very much, Abhinav Kadambi garu, for this wonderful, very scholarly, erudite, and concept-rich presentation of a text. Wonderful in-depth analysis and giving contemporary relevance at every point. With a great awareness of contemporary developments. That was really wonderful. I will check if there are any questions, and I don't see questions, so I will forward if we find any questions later to you.